Good afternoon. What a surreal night last night. As the world, with hundreds of millions of people around the world, in different continents, different time zones, in different countries, were fixated on the Super Bowl, on people throwing a ball back and forth and who would win and who would be the MVP. The Israeli army was taking the greatest risks after planning for 3 weeks to rescue 2 of the 136 hostages that were still left in Gaza. And as we find out more about this daring mission, it gives us more appreciation and hope than we've ever had. If there was ever a touchdown that counted and was the most important touchdown thrown, it wasn't Mahomes or Purdy. It was the IDF, Tzva HaHagana L'Yisrael. For 3 weeks, Israel planned to figure out a way when they found out that 2 hostages were being held on the 2nd floor of a house in Rafah, or as we would say in Hebrew, in Rafiach. And Israel kept on calling it off because it wasn't ripe. They had to figure out a way to get to the hostages and to neutralize the 3 terrorists that were watching them. And then after they were safely in the hands of those who were rescuing them, knock out all the terrorists in the houses next door, all around, to make sure that they could be able to evacuate safely. And they had a temporary helipad that they put up in the middle of Rafiah, where there's 1 million Palestinians, where they had a helicopter bring these 2 Jewish people to the Sheba hospital. And the words that they said, Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Minister of Defense, Yoav Gallant, they were both in the headquarters watching it. And the moment they came into the house, Kladenstein, and got into the room where the hostages were sleeping, and they rescued the hostages and neutralized the 3 terrorists, they said the words, "The diamonds are in our hands." And then they went on to take them as the Air Force and the Navy pounded the houses next to it where the other terrorists were so they could get out securely. I kept on thinking about those words they said. The diamonds are in our hands. And everybody in Israel woke up. Today by us it was at night. It was like 10 o'clock, so we were still up. But in Israel it was the middle of the night. And people didn't find out till the next morning. But today, the whole of Israel woke up with hope, with joy, with optimism. Something that we could say has been hard to find in any single day in Israel since the beginning of this war on October 7th. But what the terrorists don't get, and all the haters and all those screaming about Israel and the IDF and complaining about the fact that we went to save our people, what they don't get is how much we cherish life, how much we cherish human beings, how much we cherish and love our people. Hiyyalomim Biadienu, the diamonds are in our hands. Those are the words, the code words the IDF used to tell their commanders and the Prime Minister and the Defense Minister that they had secured these 2 hostages. And you think about this, and it made me think about this week's Torah portion. In this week's Torah portion, we say, "V'asu li migdash v'shachanti b'socham." God says, "Make me a dwelling place, and I will rest within them." It doesn't say within it; it says within them. And Rashi immediately says, and we know because we speak about this every year, it's the most quoted thing, that God says, promises that when you make a dwelling place for God, He dwells in each person, in the human being, in your heart, in your soul. And that's how we view every human being. That there's a piece of God within them. Their neshama, their soul. And they're so precious. And they're so treasured. And that's been the story of the Jewish people for eternity. We're fixated. The Palestinians want 1,000 terrorists for 1 Jew to be freed. You know why? Because they know how much we treasure life. How important it is. How sacred it is to us. And you know what? You know why the Israeli people woke up with so much hope today? Because they realized that because of that love that we have for each other, for the Jewish life, that we will ultimately, yachad nenatzeach, together we will win. And even though it's painful, and we know there's still another 124 hostages that are in Gaza, and we understand that it's not going to happen in a minute, but we have the hope and the faith that these heroic and courageous soldiers in Tzva HaHagana L'Yisrael, Tzva Hashem L'Yisrael, will continue doing their utmost to make it possible for us to free more hostages. But let's not forget this miracle, this heroic act. Highlights Biadiנו, the diamonds on our hands, the MVP trophy, the diamonds go to the Israeli Defense Force. They're the ones who won the Super Bowl. May Hashem protect all of them. And may we, each and every one of us, make a dwelling place for Hashem in our hearts, in our homes, in our actions. Love and cherish each and every one of us and the gifts that God has given us. Have a great and awesome